Welcome to Fun Electronics. Today we're tackling a massive hurdle that pretty much every creator faces. How on earth do we bridge the gap between coding a digital brain and actually moving physical muscles? You know, if you've ever wanted to make something move in the real world, well, this explainer is exactly what you need.
So here's the core problem we run into. You've got this tiny microcontroller, like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, and it acts as the brain. It's smart, it can calculate, and it sends out these tiny electrical signals. We're talking just a few milliamps here. But your DC motor, that's your muscle. And man, it is power hungry. If you try plugging that hungry motor directly into your delicate little microcontroller brain, poof, it'll fry itself instantly. It desperately needs a middleman to do the heavy lifting, and that middleman is the motor driver.
Section 1. Meet the motor driver. Brain versus brawn. Let's jump right in.
Now, people use these two terms interchangeably all the time, but actually scratch that. They are very different beasts. The motor driver is the heavy lifter. Its literally only job is to provide raw electrical power to the motor based on direct instructions. The motor controller, on the other hand, is the logic center. It's taking in all this data from sensors, USB inputs, or keypads, processing it, and then telling the driver what to do. So think of it like this. The driver is the brawn, and the controller gives the instructions.
And the foundational piece of magic inside that motor driver? That's the H-bridge. You see, to reverse a DC motor, you literally have to reverse the polarity, swap the positive and negative wires. An H-bridge is just this brilliant little circuit made of 4 switches that lets us drive a motor forward and backward electronically. No manual wire flipping required. Pretty neat, right?
Moving on to Section 2, how motor drivers work. We are controlling the flow now. Let's break down the mechanical flow step by step. Imagine your motor is sitting right in the middle of a giant letter H. If we close 2 of the diagonal switches, let's just call them A and D, current flows one way and the motor drives forward. Simple. But if we open those and close the opposite diagonal switches, B and C, the current reverses and boom, the motor spins backward. It really is that simple. But how do we actually control the speed? Well, for that, we bring in PWM.
PWM, or pulse width modulation, is how we manipulate the MOSFET gate. You see, if you just lower the voltage to slow a motor down, you're going to completely kill its torque. It'll be super weak. Instead, we rapidly pulse the full voltage on and off. And I mean rapidly. We're talking up to 20,000 times a second. The wider the on pulses, the faster the motor spins, and it keeps all of its pulling power. It's just a wildly efficient way to manage speed.
But here's a kind of terrifying question for you. What do you think happens if, for even a fraction of a millisecond, both the top and bottom switches on the exact same side of that H-bridge close at the same time?
Yeah, the answer is a catastrophic short circuit known as shoot-through. Your power supply dumps straight to ground, and your transistors literally go up in smoke. It's a bad day. To prevent this complete disaster, modern integrated circuits use something called dead time. Dead time is just a tiny, strictly programmed delay that guarantees one switch is entirely 100% off before the other one is allowed to turn on. It's basically a built-in safety net for your hardware.
All right, Section 3, adding sensors and control. Let's look at how we achieve real precision.
So, if you want true precision, like say a robot arm moving to an exact millimeter, we use PID controllers. PID stands for proportional, integral, and derivative. These controllers are constantly reading sensor data, like from a rotary encoder on the motor, and calculating errors. The proportional part, that looks at your current error. The integral part looks at the accumulation of past errors. And the derivative, that actually predicts future errors based on how fast things are changing. Together, they crunch the numbers to keep your motor perfectly on target.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is how you actually tune this system. You can't just guess the numbers and hope for the best. There is a strict sequence you gotta follow. You always start by tuning the current, which represents your torque. Once that's locked in, you move on to tuning the speed. And finally, only after the current and speed are perfectly calibrated do you dial in the position. If you skip this order, well, get ready for some wild oscillations and a super unstable project.
Section 4, real-world applications. Let's see how this stuff is literally powering the world around us.
Take a look at how the voltage scales directly with the application here. Down at around 7 volts, we're talking hobby robotics, toys, maybe small 3D printer motors. But jump up to 18 volts and suddenly you're powering cordless drills, vacuum pumps, and household appliances. Pushing to 36 volts and beyond, now we are into serious heavy lifting. Automotive fuel pumps, marine equipment, Electric vehicles. The crazy thing is, the core H-bridge concept is the exact same across all of these. The components just get a whole lot beefier.
Oh, and it's definitely worth noting that a lot of modern high-performance devices, like your drones and EVs, have moved over to brushless DC motors. Since these don't have physical brushes, you get way less friction and much higher efficiency. But because they don't mechanically self-commutate, you have to use a specialized, complex motor controller called an electronic speed controller, or ESC, to electronically sequence those magnetic fields.
Okay, Section 5, DIY engineering projects. Time to build it yourself. When you're actually picking out parts for a project, you've got a ton of options. A lot of people start with the L298N. It's a classic, sure, but honestly, it's pretty outdated, super bulky, and it generates way too much heat. A much better choice for your small bots is the DRV8871. It's tiny, highly efficient thanks to modern MOSFETs, and you only need 3 wires to hook it up. Or, if you need to go really big, check out the Citron MD25HV. It's a heavy-duty single-channel driver that actually has a built-in controller, so you can literally test it manually with just a switch and a potentiometer. Before we wrap up, pro tip time, and this is a golden rule of engineering that will absolutely save your hardware. Always pick a motor driver that exceeds your motor's average operating current by 30 to 50%. Seriously, if your motor pulls 2 amps under a normal load, do not buy a 2-amp driver. Get a 3-amp driver. You need that extra headroom for when the motor stalls or hits a snag and suddenly spikes its current draw. If you don't have that buffer, you're going to fry your components for sure.
And there you have it. The mechanics, the control, and the hardware behind making things actually move. You've now got the knowledge to bridge your code to the physical world. So I guess the only question left is, what engineering project are you going to tackle first? Are you thinking about a highly precise maze-solving robot using those PID sensors, or maybe a rugged high-speed RC rover to tear through the dirt? Whatever it is, get out there and start building. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.